we have heard earlier about raising private equity. Now, when you think about the stock exchange, you're thinking about how you're going to raise funds from the public, how investors are going to be investing in your business, the public investing in your business. And the public is going to want to know, as we have heard, quite a bit about your business plan, and your intentions in terms of what you're going to be, the areas that you're going to be working through. And there are certain other things that the public will want to know about. Obviously, at the stock exchange, we encourage persons to raise equity capital. There is the comparison between equity capital and debt capital, and the environment that we are in Jamaica is where debt capital, it's hard to come by and it is very expensive. We consider equity capital as being patient capital and allow for small businesses and medium-sized businesses and large businesses to grow. In recent times, in the last 4 years, the stock exchange has been able, through the public, to raise 4 companies, both small, medium-sized, and large companies, over $4 billion. And I know persons in the audience here will want to know just what it takes to raise this capital. Okay. Now, when a person is contemplating raising equity capital, going to the public for monies to fund their business, to advance their business, to expand, one of the major things that they must consider is the current shareholders. You are in the business, you have your business, and the idea, therefore, is to engage the shareholders to say, we want to raise capital, and we are going to, as a result, if we are going to raise capital from the public, those persons, those shareholders will be a part of our business. So the first thing is to engage your current shareholders. The other thing is that when you have your business normally, that business would have been incorporated possibly as a private limited company. In order to raise funds from the public, that company must be converted to a public company. You cannot raise funds from the public unless it is converted. And that step is done through the Companies Office of Jamaica. The other person that you must engage in this process is the Financial Services Commission. Because in order to invite persons to share in your business, the normal step is that of through a prospectus. And the prospectus is really the document that outlines what the company is in, the name of the current shareholders, and also the fact how much is going to be raised on the market, and the capitalization, etc. So that document is a legal document, and you cannot go to market to raise funds unless that document is approved. So the approval process is through the Financial Services Commission. The Financial Services Commission will issue a non-objection letter. The Companies Office of Jamaica will approve that prospectus. Also to be engaged is a broker and your legal team. Obviously, because also that prospectus is a legal document. Other persons to engage is the registrar, your auditors. We speak about proper accounting, and the fact that we must have a company secretary. The articles of incorporation of a company, one of the areas to look at when coming to market is to ensure that it follows the Companies Office, the information as set out in the Companies Office. I spoke about the converting to a public company, but other things that the stock exchange look at is to ensure that in the articles it states about the shares being easily or freely transferable. There are no calls on these shares, because after you have engaged in being a shareholder, you want to find a way, if you want to sell those shares, to sell on the exchange. There are no preemption rights. It means that nobody is going to be treated any differently. All shareholders will be treated equally. And also the provisions for directors, annual reports, and accounts. And what we expect when the prospectus comes to us for review, we look at what is the summary to the invitation, who are the issuer, the number of shares and the price, the timetable and key dates when the prospectus will be posted, and also how these shares will be allotted to shareholders who have engaged in the process. The financial statement is very critical. The financial statements, the company, if you are in business for 5 years or more, you must have 5 years audited financial statements. And if your accounts are considered stale, which means that it has been published or it has been audited for more than 90 days, there is also the requirement for in-house accounts. Let me just go back to the material contracts. One of our presenters spoke about copyrights. Some of the things we look at is that in the prospectus, you must disclose any material contracts that you have. And importantly, the prospectus being a legal document, there must be the signatures of the persons who will be carrying the company to market. Directors of the company. Governance matters, and so the board of directors is key to a company coming to the market to raise capital. Other areas that are of importance is an audit committee, and for the stock exchange, a majority of those persons on the audit committee must be non-independent directors. We have 2 markets for raising of equity capital, that is. And there needs to be what is called a compensation or remuneration committee for companies that are raising capital on the junior market. And also for raising capital on the junior market, it is necessary to have a mentor. So these are some of the things that a company must engage in when trying to raise equity capital on the market. Other documents that are important to us an application form, a listing agreement, and the listing agreement really is that because this is about the public's fund, it incorporates all the rules of the exchange, which means that that company that comes to market must agree to abide by the rules of the exchange. Also, if it's a junior market company, must submit a mentor agreement, must submit to us the prospectus, must submit a declaration of agreement, a board resolution to say, we spoke earlier about the fact that those original shareholders must have agreed that this company will come to market, and that board resolution states that. The company must have a register of members, and also that the share certificate, because we are not as yet dematerialized. Another thing that must be borne in mind is that a minimum of 20% of the shares in the company must be offered to the public. It does not mean that they have controlling interest naturally. 20% is not 51%. So, but 20% must be shared with the public. And for the main market, it's 100 shareholders that must engage in the process of buying those shares. And for the junior market, again, 20%, and the 25 shareholders must engage in that process. Finally, in terms of timeline is important. The prospectus must be submitted to the Jamaica Stock Exchange at least 21 days before the final document. And for the FSC does have a requirement also of, I think it is 30 days, that it must be submitted. So we are working with that team the Companies Office, the FSC, the Jamaica Stock Exchange. And for the Jamaica Stock Exchange, we review the prospectus, and it must be submitted 21 days before the final document. The final prospectus must be submitted 2 days before the publication. And publication means here that you are going to post it on the stock exchange's website and your company's website if you have one. And that is for the viewing of the public to determine and to distill the information that is contained within that offer document. And it stays there on the website for 7 days before the offer opens. So you have time to understand what you are getting into. And in the notice of the prospectus, there must be a notice to the public in a major newspaper immediately after the prospectus is posted, indicating to the public where to find the information. And the basis of allotment is nothing more than telling you how these shares, which people have subscribed to, will be allotted. Will you get everything? Will you get 50% if it is oversubscribed? But there must be a basis. And at the end of that period, after 7 days, there must be a register of shareholders, which is why initially you needed a registrar. So in conclusion, it is important that the communication takes place between all the various persons who are responsible to give an approval for the document and also to guide you through the process, for example, the brokers and the lawyers and the accountants. The documents must be in place because there is an approval process. We must be able to establish that the company has thought about and has established the relevant boards and committees so as to ensure that there's good corporate governance. And the minimum shareholdings must be in place before that company can be considered for listing. Timelines are important because if they get missed, then the company, for example, with a prospectus, if you are not able, if the FSC has approved or given a non-objection letter, and you are not able to upload at that particular, after that date, then it will have to go back to them for redating. So you have to consider all the timelines ahead of the offering of your shares to the public. And I'll end my presentation there. It's really a good way in order, raising equity capital is probably one of the best ways in our environment to raise capital, to raise corporate governance, and to ensure that there's a continuity in your business.